Frame, Director of Social Emotional Learning at the Urban Assembly, and I'm excited to be on this journey across the country, to travel to different communities, to different schools, to different states to see social emotional learning in action. We know that social emotional learning is the utmost importance, but the communities and people are doing this work, and I'm out here going around to see where it's happening and happening at high quality levels. And today that brings us to Windsor, Connecticut and Windsor Public Schools. So I'm excited to get a chance to go in here and hopefully get a chance to see what's happening across Windsor Public Schools in terms of social emotional learning. So let's go.
Oh my goodness. Hey, can I call you back? Okay, bye-bye.
Dr. Mallory, how you doing, man?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, it's good to see you. What are you doing here?
I heard about the work that's happening in Windsor. Can you tell me a little bit about the social, emotional, and academic development that's happening here in Windsor Public Schools?
We are transforming culture here. We are equipping not only our educators, our staff members, but our students around the social emotional competencies of skill development so they can lock in, they can be active, they can be engaged.
I am like really excited about the opportunity to see that. So can I see that today? Can you take me around Windsor Public Schools today? Because I have a vision, I have a dream that I can pull any student in the United States of America and I'm gonna be able to talk about their social emotional skills. So I wanna be able to do that here in Windsor today. Can we do that today?
Today. You sure?
Today. I want to go around Windsor Public Schools, every single school, meet students, meet staff, meet faculty, meet administration, and learn about what's happening here in social emotional learning here in Windsor Public Schools.
Well, your vision is about to come to reality because here in Windsor, SEL, this is what we do. Let me take you around.
All right, let's do this.
I feel like social emotional learning is kind of like the roots of a tree. Like we need social emotional learning to be able to do everything else.
Part of building that relationship I've learned over 30 years in this field is sharing you. A lot of times I think we try to say that we're making decisions that's in the best interest of children, right? But I don't think we ever consider their thoughts.
As the Student Support Center Coordinator, my role is to basically run workshops where students are learning the 5 components of SEL.
My strongest skill, I would say, is self-awareness.
Definitely self-management.
Social awareness. So here at Windsor High School, not only might you see, different things that happen to start off a class, a class session, but you also, just kind of see those individual check-ins maybe in the hallway, in a separate space.
Social emotional learning from a district lens is amazing. We are building something special here in Windsor Public Schools. So just starting from the integrated implementation aspect of auditing everything from my instructional practices.
In my room I have a wall and it says SEL in our own words, and so it has the 5 domains. And the students brainstorm, what does that look like?
High school students need these skills because when we develop these skills early on in the high school years, we'll be able to grow on them and have them as a foundation when we go into our future careers.
Being able to understand my family, not so much looking at things from my perspective, but also looking at it from their perspective as well.
You can't teach someone something if you can't give them a context from which to, understand what you're talking about.
My understanding helps because if I know my strengths and my weaknesses, I can move forward as a stronger and more efficient person.
Because sometimes high school can be a lot, but it's important to really understand what is best for you, being able to have the self-management skills and truly put your best potential out there.
In order to do great things, as we aspire to do at Windsor High School, we have to be, in an emotional state where we feel physically, emotionally safe to do so.
The Windsor community would be different. We would be more self-aware of each other and ourselves, and we would be able to be less judgmental of each other.
We will be able to truly create an environment where everyone feels welcomed and foster an environment where everyone is given the same starting point.
My students' behaviors impact their learning, so we have to find ways to incorporate that.
Social emotional learning helps us improve equity because everybody now gets a chance to express themselves.
In our advisories, when we're all together, it's with different people that we don't know, and it helps us be less judgmental of each other and understand each other.
One of the things that we're trying to build here in Windsor Public Schools is how do we not only integrate the language and the framework around social emotional learning, but then identify, right, the deficits and the opportunity for improvement of all of our educators around their social emotional skills.
I want to thank actually Amy Hansen.
Aliana.
I really want to thank Kendrick Moore.
Students like Janeda and Tiona and Max and Amarion.
He truly has helped me over the 3 years that I've been at the high school understand how to really take time for myself.
Learning about SEL has impacted my relationship with teachers. It makes me more confident to speak to them and know that they are there to help us.
I would say if you plan on having success, you definitely need to consider the social emotional learning of all our folks.
Thank you.
Dhanyavad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I needed people who had first of all, the heart to do the work, and then the training and the understanding and the desire to want to learn more so that they could service my students better.
So at Clover Street, it takes on a variety. It looks very different depending on what class you're in. We start each morning with morning circles, and that's really a time for our teachers to work on the SEL competencies and really bring forth ways that students can be successful.
In my classroom, when the kids come in the morning, I always try to greet them at the door, and we do a greeting they get to pick, and I just like to check in with them emotionally, just as simple like, how are you feeling?
And allows the students to have direct and explicit instruction in SEL skills. It also allows them to work in small groups, which is an important part of developing SEL skills at the elementary level.
SEL is social emotional learning, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision making, and relationship.
If you're not feeling comfortable and safe and validated, right, thought of, seen, then you're not bringing your full authentic self to that relationship.
So we do a lot of modeling how we should talk to each other, modeling what math workshops should look like with each other before we even start that.
The DESL tool allows me to understand where opportunities for learning social and emotional skills lie with each individual student.
Because unlike other assessments, this assessment is solely around empowering student voice and activating student voice around their social-emotional competency.
What I've done is I've kind of used the Aperture DESA, whether it's the full DESA or the mini DESA, as an opportunity to spend more time in the classroom doing observation.
I would say be open to all of the information it can provide, really work together collaboratively as a team to look at the results. It also really helped us identify which students could benefit from additional small group instruction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am not an SEL expert. However, you have to be intentional and say this is important, and not just out of your mouth, but your actions and your budgetary steps will tell people how important it is.
I champion social emotional learning because I think it's a good bridgeway between behavior and the emotional state of some of the students.
Well, I think when we think about what we want adults to be like, we have to consider how do we get these kids to be productive citizens, right?
And I feel like it's something that both teachers can take a lot away from, students can learn something new, which helps my classroom community in dealing with situations, talking about expectations, accountability.
I support teachers by modeling the classroom management for them and the way that I interact with the student.
Rather than do like a traditional lesson for SEL, we'll do a lot of games. And so we'll say, what strategies will help us to be successful in these games? And so they'll say, oh, I gotta focus, or I gotta keep my eyes on the speaker.
SEL looks like a lot of different things in my classroom. It's in the way that the students interact with each other. We've talked about social stories, especially coming in from recess and dealing with problems. Every day at morning meeting, we recite the community commitments that the students lead and echo back.
I will respect the rights of others.
I will remember my choices affect me and those around me.
I will remember my choices affect me and those around me.
Third grader, Caden.
The student named Makai.
For me, for this school year, I would have to say Gavin in my homeroom.
He's the one kid that comes to mind. I'm like, if we could get a 180 from him, like I'm sure the rest of the class would shift a little bit because he's just a natural leader.
I've seen such growth where they can acknowledge what they did and then move on from that. So take ownership of their behavior.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're absolutely in our infancy, and this is just the genesis of the work that I want to see folks doing. But I feel, so it's definitely anecdotal right now, that students and staff and administrators are understanding that this is important.
The most important thing that we do as a school at Oliver Ellsworth is every second of every day, teachers showing kids that they love them.
Working in K-2, I've noticed the lack of social skills and self-management and awareness in the kids.
If I love you as my child, I'm going to have high expectations for you. And because the child knows that they're loved by the teacher, they're going to want to please that teacher.
It is the building block. It is integral to being a kind and decent human being.
I push into the classrooms and I help kids manage their emotions. I help kids deal with any type of conflict.
A big part of SEL is, engaging with the students, seeing what their need is, and meeting them where they're at to help build these competencies for SEL.
It's not just something that we teach in school, but it's something that you need lifelong. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's much better to have people understand how their actions impacted others so that they can then make better decisions moving forward, not to repeat those actions.
Social emotional learning is throughout the day. From the moment the students get off the bus or dropped off by their parents, they're greeted with a smile, with a welcome.
Here at Pequannock, we actually moved into town because of the type of school that Windsor has here with Pequannock. And it really engages you by bringing you into the school and making you a part of the school family.
In my classroom, it looks like kids working with one another and using positive language, not knocking each other down, but always building each other up.
It's really important that the kids at such a young age get the skills and tools that they need.
I think it's important for kids to develop these skills because it helps them be nice to other people.
You can have the strongest academic program ever, but if the students don't feel cared for, they don't feel valued, their teacher is not the model for that, they won't learn.
I think most of all, just the clear communication, the events that they put on, just to get family feedback, just to teach us other skills and how we can engage with students.
I want to thank Marley.
I'll say a student, Austin.
His name was Rudolph.
Mr. B.
It's definitely going to be Harper.
For me, that was one student who, needed a lot of support from all the adults in the building.
Social emotional learning is as important now, if not more important, than it ever was before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Principal Leanna Jorgensen, my principal at Sage Park Middle School. I think she truly embodies this whole SEL spirit.
In order for you to be able to reach a child, to teach them anything, you have to be able to know your child, right?
Every day, we always start off with a question just to kind of loosen things up.
I've gone from being the person who's at the front of the room and kind of commanding the attention of everybody at all times to, involving the students. And
so I do global cuisine learning instead of just teaching traditional basics for culinary arts.
I champion SEL is because the greatness and the potential that it affords our students.
And kids can't learn in a chaotic environment. Kids can't access learning when they don't feel as if they're valued, that their emotions or what they're going through is not being considered.
SEL Day was on March 11th, and we basically turned over the whole school and focused on all of the domains of social awareness.
During SEL Day, it was pretty fun. We stayed with our homeroom class all day.
I learned how to work with people that I didn't know, and I made new friends out of that.
Kids moved from activity to work on specific skills. They got times to collaborate and really work on different parts of their strengths. They got to set goals based on what they want to work on.
The social emotional skill I'm working on is
how to deal with my emotions.
Control my anger. I'm working on relationship skills. Getting to behave better.
Because if I don't know how to control my emotions,
sometimes I can take it out on the wrong person and that can affect them.
I think the biggest thing that you can do as an educator is to model SEL, and that doesn't take any extra time.
There is more of a human feel. This is not just
this is my job, I'm just gonna get it done, get my paycheck and keep it moving. They see their students as beings that are growing and evolving into their true selves.
To me, you can't truly get to all parts of the student without having that piece being really at the front of it.
If we can get everyone on board and everyone's reinforcing those skill sets, because just think how amazing that would be and how accessible, because we always make the connection back to instruction, how accessible our kids would be for learning. Like, that would be powerful.
Working with Urban Assembly as a district who's really trying to someday achieve what Urban Assembly has at a very sustainable level around social emotional learning has been everything.
Thank you.
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 Thank you. That's all y'all get.
Dr. Mallory, I'm so appreciative that you were able to take me around Windsor Public Schools so that we could see social emotional learning in action.
Did I deliver?
You delivered, and it was outstanding to hear from teachers, from students, SEL specialists, the superintendent, the principals around high quality social emotional learning happening here in Windsor.
Listen, I appreciate all of the support and guidance, but come check us out in another year and it's gonna be even bigger.
Listen, you can count on that. I will look forward to coming back to see the work that's happening. But just thank you again for the opportunity to come see the social emotional learning work happening in Windsor. Kudos to you for your commitment. Kudos to the district for making SEL a priority. And I hope that what we learned today, what we saw today, is not just for Windsor, but for the state of Connecticut and for the United States of America.
Thank you, and I look forward to continuing to do the great work here in Windsor Public Schools.
SEL is not a moment, but a movement. Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right.